From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the status of the Levi, Parshat Shofetim. If we look in Parshat Shofetim, we see the Levi is coming. If the Levi comes and he comes to you in the community, v'shevet b'shem Hashem Elokav, he can service in the name of God. In other words, the Levi is an independent operator. He has functions in the service of God. If we look in Bamidbar, Perek Aleph and Perek Gimel, in one case it says, V'shiratu oto, the role of the Levi is to serve the Kohen. In another instance, in Perek Gimel, it seems that he has all sorts of roles. The Levi has independent role as someone chosen instead of the firstborn. He has a separate status. This question as to whether the Levi has a separate status or whether Levi's function is simply to assist the Kohanim plays a role in the following situation. We know the Gemara in Gittin, the Mishnah in Gittin says that we call the Kohen first, Levi second, Mibnei Darkei Shalom, because of the matters of peace. We want to have peace in the congregation. People shouldn't fight. Who gets the first Aliyah? So we give it to the Kohen, second to the Levi, etc. Question is, what happens if there's no Kohen? So Rabbi Naktinan Ein Sham Kohen Nitparda Chavila. That if there's no Kohen, says Abaye, then forget about it. The whole group is undone. The bundle is unfettered. It's untied. Now, what does that mean? And it's very unclear what it means. Rashi says, and quotes, and he's probably following the footsteps of Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yehuda, his Rebbe, who says that the Levi should read the first Aliyah. If there's no Kohen, the Levi should read it. But he also brings another opinion as well. And in that case, Levi shouldn't read at all. The Ritva says, no, Levi should not read at all. However, there's another opinion mentioned in the Ritva, and that is, some Sephardic Jews follow this, as long as you say, Afal Pi Shu Levi, in other words, if you call the Levi for second, third, fourth, or even the Kohen, as long as you say, I'm calling him third, calling him fourth, even though he's a Levi, sort of like Nishtaf Shabbos Gered, or, with all due apologies, calling him anyway, but I'm recognizing who he is, you can call him for a different Aliyah. The Shulchan Aruch itself, somewhat ambiguous about it. It says, he says as follows, Im ein Kohen beis hakneses. If there's no Kohen in the shul, this is in Siman Kuf Lamed Hey Sif Vav, then Korah Yisrael Makom Kohen, V'lo Ya'ala Acharav Levi. That if there's no Kohen, an Israelite would read, and a Levi should not go second. After all, it might make the Levi look like he's not a Levi. However, the Ramah says, could he read first? He says, sure. He says, Rishon Yuchal Alos. He could come up first, and even quotes the Beis Yosef himself. Apparently, in the earlier work that the Rav Yosef Karo wrote, in the Beis Yosef, he said that indeed, the Kohen, when there's no Kohen, the Levi could read. However, many Sephardic communities don't call a Levi when there's no Kohen. They just call a regular Israelite. Perhaps they should call the Talmud Chacham, call the rabbi or some scholar who's in the community. Now, the Mordechai gets into the logic of it. He says, well, the Levi isn't the Levi, the only reason the Levi got Sheni, got the second Aliyah, was for the honor of the Kohen. If there's no Kohen, then who needs to honor the Levi? Do we really need to honor the Levi? After all, we honor the Kohen because Vikidashto, because he is the one who serves our bread. Oh, there are other reasons given for the honor of the Kohen. Some might apply to the Levi. He does do some service, so perhaps he deserves something for that. They are the singers in the Beit HaMikdash. They carry certain items in the desert, and also they are the shoarim. They open and close and guard the Mikdash. They fulfill the idea of a shamru, that to guard the holy sanctuary compound. Now, this question as to whether a Levi is entitled to his own honor is an interesting question. And I believe I heard this from Rabbi Herschel Schefter. He said as follows. He said, there's an ambivalent statement that we make when we have a bris. Have a bris, there's a special benching, beautiful introduction to the benching, special harachamat. And in the birshus, where you ask permission to the congregation, you say, birshus ha-kohanim halviim, ekra l'elokei havriim. It's a little poem. So what do you say? Birshus ha-kohanim halviim. I want to ask permission from the kohanim, who are Leviim. Now the expression ha-kohanim halviim, it's an article in the Yeshivat Har Etzion, all about trying to understand what does it mean, ha-kohanim Levim, in the book of Dvarim. What does that mean, kohanim Levim? Is it talking about kohanim or is it talking about Levim? And it's not so clear. But what about in this particular poem, what does it mean? So someone said that depends how you read it. Is it Birshut HaKohanim v'halvim? Are you asking permission from the Kohen and from the Levi? See, Levi, he's also important. If I, the Israelite, am going to lead the benching, the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, then what I'm doing is I am bypassing the Kohen, and I ask for permission. I'm also bypassing the Levi, and I have to ask him for permission. Or is it no, Birshut Kohanim Halvim? I'm asking for permission of the Kohanim, who happen to be Leviim. Leviim themselves, though, why should I ask permission from them? There's no mitzvah v'kidashta, there's no mitzvah to put the Levi on a pedestal. The only reason we have the Levi second is just to bolster up the Kohen, to give him even further honor. You don't have a Kohen unless you have the Kohen, and to make it really important, you put someone else next to him. For instance, if there's no Levi, you have to have another Kohen. You don't want the Kohen to feel that a mere Israelite read after him. You create a whole hierarchy, but it's not a real hierarchy. It's sort of a feigned hierarchy. The Levite really not having his own status. Ultimately, the question is the Levi merely a functionary for the Kohen, or is the Levi have his own status? Is he the assistant Kohen, has his own status, or assistant to the Kohen? V'shir tu oto, he's here to function, to serve him. In the Torah itself, there are different elements, different ways of looking at it, not so clear. In the rabbinic literature regarding this, not so clear. Shulchan Aruch himself, not so clear. We Ashkenazim have it clear, and that is that when there's no Kohen, you could have a Levi. And what about having a Levi for other aliyahs? There is such a custom, Shulchan Aruch mentions, but we say no. Well, Kohen always reads first. There's no Kohen, a Levi could read, he doesn't have to. And then if you want to call a Kohen or a Levi for any other aliyah, you can only call him for the Acharon, for the last aliyah. When some Sphard-Beth do that, in the Spanish and Portuguese, they say Afal Pi Shehu Kohen, Afal Pi Shehu Levi. If they call him for the last aliyah, they say I'm calling him for the last aliyah, even though he is a Kohen. So, in the end, the Levi has his own status. He also has a secondary status. Is he his own person or not? I was once at the benching at the RCA convention, and Rabbi Schechter led the benching. He did ask permission from not only the Kohanim, but also Leviim, seeming to take the position that Leviim have a separate status and need to be acknowledged. Sometimes those who are assistants, those who help others, don't receive the same status, the same honor. Perhaps what that position is telling us is that yes, not only those who lead, but also those who assist in holy matters, they too should receive their just rewards. Thanks for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation for a discussion of the role of the Levi. Join us each week for the discussion of the Parsha, the various holidays, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.